and welcome to the Data Strategy Gurus podcast. Today we have Axel Schaefer, who's a head of product marketing at Adobe. Axel, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Yves. How are you?
Doing fine. Axel, you're the head of product marketing at Adobe, and your mission is to grow Adobe's customer data applications. Can we dive a bit more into that? The customer data applications, what it withholds, and what you're exactly doing to make that happen?
Sure. So my job is basically across EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, to apply the technical abilities or capabilities that we have within Adobe's Experience platform, which is a new technology that we invented about 5 years ago, which includes solutions for analysis, activation, and distribution of data. Underneath, there are sitting various products. Not sure if I need to go into those at this point, but I'm basically responsible across the region to make sure that, again, these solutions are applied to various industries, various customers, various business models in the right way.
Yeah, and we know Adobe from a lot of the graphical stuff. Now you're talking about data. So how does that resonate together with the Experience platform, as you mentioned?
So I think Adobe is in a very unique position to have two business areas or two business parts, business groups, one of which is the creative side that you just mentioned with Firefly, Creative Cloud, all the solutions that everybody is aware of. And then the second business, which has grown over the last 10 years that I've been with the company, to quite significant size as well, which is the digital marketing business or digital experience business, as we call it today, which involves web analytics, content management, campaign management, and so forth and so forth. So the full set of solutions that a marketer needs as well. Those two together, again, from my perspective, and clearly I'm biased here, work very well together because you bring the creativity that you have, for example, when you create various versions of a campaign with the data side of things, where the data is actually feeding who should you distribute these different versions of a creative to. There's a lot of stuff that I could talk about, but again, guess not part of this specific session.
Yeah, interesting discussion for me as well to go into that creative part and create hyper-personalized campaigns, as you tell it. I'm very intrigued into that path, but I wanted to throw it a bit into the combination of you're into corporates, and where do you see all the digital and the creativity helps as well beyond the corporates, a bit more on the not-for-profit organizations?
So over the years, I've seen a lot of different possibilities, potentials to apply that. And I'm a creative thinker, if you want, in my data space. And sometimes people are like, "How is that going together?" After all, it's my job and it's my mission. I would even say in Adobe to think about how these capabilities, which are again very valuable, I believe in general, could be applied to different industries or different situations in life in general. So if I may, I had an example. I was on a business mission, business trip to South Africa a few years back. And after my presentation, someone walked up to me and said, "I'm not sure if you can help me, but I'm very interested." So he was like, "Sure, let me know how." And he was, "I'm from the Salvation Army. And how could your data solutions help me?" And I'm like, "Well, good point. Give me a second." Because it's not something that I run into every day. That's rather unusual. Also to have these guys attending and being interested in the data topic so early on. Again, this was a few years back. But after all, once I collected my thought, it's like when you think about how organizations, nonprofit organizations, are depending on certain donations, on certain people that have a very good will, that have a good cause, no interest for themselves, but for the cause, it's very important for that nonprofit to make sure that they are getting served the right content, the right people. I've donated for, a village for children, for example, in a certain location, that they A, are aware what their money has done, what their donation has done, and B, are served other possibilities how to help even more. So again, that's a very, very positive cause to be very far away from any commercial interest that someone may have. But again, how can I make sure that I break down my customer base and I can identify the people that have been, showing interest in X, Y, Z, other causes as well? And that, for example, for me, is a very good, and that's why I remember it as well, very good application where it goes far outside any commercial thinking we're having. And it's a good thing to see that, you can actually change, good causes as well, not only the typical commercially driven ones.
Yeah, that's a real great use case. When I was listening, I was thinking through a bit on how you say that you can really serve the right content to the people that are already donated. That it's not in a sense, well, it's commercial, but it's not in a pure consumption type of way where our economies is tooled upon. So that's a great way of getting more engagement with digital and with data and that for the good cause. So really, really interesting. Where do you see it's now going with the third party cookies going away and first party data? Everybody tries to get their own insights on the data and get those demographics together. How does a platform like Adobe, the Experience platform, help in that way?
So Experience platform, just as a background, has been created again, I believe 5 years ago at least, if not 6. So we've been thinking about how we can approach the next level of customer expectations in an very early stage. So when other people are just still pulling together their solution, we thought about how can we make sure that the expectation of tomorrow, which is the expectation of today now, as in getting information served in real time, can be fulfilled and can be applied. So when we think about the third party to first party cookie dynamic, and we did not see that coming at that point. I have to be honest on that. We still thought about how can we make sure that the future is set on a high level of control within the organization. How can you as an organization, commercial or non-commercial, be the owner of your own data? So other companies on the market are very much basing their business models on owning that data and keeping it within their walled gardens. Adobe has very early taken a different route and thought about how can we make sure that that's very much in the control of the organizations themselves. So, for example, we started an initiative together with Microsoft and an SAP 2018, which was the Open Data Initiative, which is based on a standardized open data model. Which again is, I think foremost for the benefit of an organization to have flexibility on how they apply different solutions to that standardized data model. So I think that is very much the core of how we're thinking. Then when we think about first party cookies, all the solutions that we have in place now are targeted on how can I make sure that I can get information from different sources, data sources, together and create a so-called profile. So basically bits of information that are fed together in one profile that's then, with all data governance and privacy regulations in mind, put together to something that can still be used to personalize. However, I'm not speaking any super hot news. We will have a change of how you can personalize, how you can make sure that the customers are still able to be identified and serve the right content or offers going forward. That's just a truth that we all need to be aware of. And that's in a lot of organizations a big challenge still, because they're not organizationally, not technically as well, but also from an organizational perspective, not set up in a way where they have thought through that to the full extent. So it's change management after all.
Yeah, that's great words. So if I can recap a bit, it's traceability, transparency, governance, and in fact, if you can integrate all of that together, that pinpoints in fact how you can get access to that data. Now we're saying it's moving from third party to first party, but if I have the feeling when you're telling me this that no matter where the data comes from, if we apply all those 4 topics, then we're in good shape and everybody knows what happens to their data, where it's going, who's using that. And whereas now processes are not constructed or created to facilitate that within organizations, because we were used to live within the walls of the corporates. So that's a big mind change for a lot of corporations and for people sharing all that information. You see in the B2C, nobody really cares in a certain way by sharing their digital footprint on Instagram, on Facebook, as long as it serves them in a certain way. And that's, I think it's an ethical discussion, like you say, where we are going.
Absolutely. I mean, with that comes a lot of responsibility. And again, it's from a technology vendor perspective, it's like, how do we offer ethically, certain capabilities that we are providing. Give you an example for that as well in a second. But also on an organizational side, as in how can I make sure that customers trust me with their data going forward? After all, this is all a change of relationship between consumers and organizations. That's the whole point. That's why regulators are pushing very hard on their side. But in the end, it's up to us to embrace that change, to be honest. If we are ready for this, then no regulation will ever get us into any trouble, into any stress, because we are prepared. And that is where we're aiming for. You need to be ready. Adobe is providing that by a principle that we call privacy by design, as in all of our new capabilities are reviewed by how can we make sure that it serves the customer's rights or the customer's consent in a good way. But yeah, I agree with you. It's a matter of how can we make sure that we respect each other more than anything else.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway on that, where you say we need to be ready before regulations step in and then force us to push us a bit back and delay all the creativity and all the development on top of what is possible with data. I recently had that same type of discussion on artificial intelligence models, where we are in that same type of discussion, where you have the feeling that the regulators need to mandate all the models and all the algorithms that will be created. So that's a hefty discussion. So definitely a big change of mind on that. When we talk about all these changes, do you think that marketers will have a harder job on accessing all that data to create campaigns in the future?
Yes and no. Yeah. From one side, of course, they need to think about how to respect, how to make sure that you get the customers on board to be able to market to them in the first place. So I think it's a lot, again, to the point of transparency and very open communication. And that starts with, when they give their consent, what am I giving my consent to, and why should I give that to you? When I read through the consent banners that I get and it only says marketing cookies, that's not necessarily appealing. If that would be personalization, so we can serve you only the products that were relevant for you, and that's just a change of two sentences in a writing, that's popping up in front of someone, that makes a major difference, because marketing cookies, that's for your benefit. That's not for my benefit whatsoever. So it starts there. So, to get people on board and to get people, ready for the campaigns is probably the hard part, to be honest. I think where it gets exciting for marketers as well is then what you can do with it. So, you've spoken about, AI models, generative AI, has been, in everybody's ears. So when you think about what you can do in the next months, even, I would say there's a lot of fast pace going, where you can then use language or text to create a question on data specifically, and can say, show me all segments that could be fitting, these criteria. And it in real time creates you segments that would have taken you days, if not weeks, to create manually, clicking together, stitching together. And AI in the background is trained so well to combine that and provide you with a new dashboard, for example, that has all, the information mapped out and ready for you to then execute a campaign. That's probably where you can have a lot more fun creating campaigns, because you can create a lot of thoughts very, very easily that would have just been too difficult to fix or to construct together in the past. So I think both is, it's a challenging future, but on the other side, it's a very exciting one, I have to say.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I have those type of discussions as well. And yesterday I was making the remark on somebody that showed me that they finally integrated ChatGPT into their data discovery tool. And I was talking last week as well to another vendor that implemented it. And I was joking on, finally, it's following me on the speed of my mind, so I can give these questions and turn around. And that's where the creativity and the data comes together. So that's for me as well, as being a data nerd on one hand, but on the other hand, being creative as well. And combining is going to be, well, I hope it's going to create some nice campaigns as well. And the testing, what we can do in that way. So will the creativity needed to find these demographical data and constraints applied due to regulations improve our experience as a customer, or just the opposite? What do you think where that is going?
So when you think about how you can get data together, I think it's more than ever a question of how can I collect data myself from a first party perspective, so how can I work directly with my customers to supply that to you. On the other side, I think the idea of sharing data with trusted partners is becoming essentially important to organizations. So if you're a big customer of another vendor who's got direct to customer communication, for example, there's a huge benefit to share data with each other, again, based on the consent that someone has given, if it can be shared. Or if you think about a specific target audience, I made an example recently about luxury segments. It's just very far off, but very, very transparent. Why not thinking about a similar target group of very well-off people? Or could be, I can make a lot of examples, but that in that case it made a lot of sense. It was very obvious between fashion and, for example, luxury cars. If you combine those two, those are very much the same people that would be into the same thing. And you can market those without having a competitive overlap with each other. And the experience for that specific target group would be much more impactful, because it was a great campaign, of potentially an offline great event that you can market to those. And again, the same would work for nonprofit. Yeah, if you can make an experience between different nonprofit causes that are not competing necessarily for the same cause, but complementary causes, that's a great thing, and that's much more memorable, because we need to get ourselves out of our individual lens that's just literally in their life very, very small, or smaller, and bring the different interests that they have together in one. And then they remember the campaign, the event, whatever, for a much longer time, and say, remember back then, that was such a great event. I got such a good experience in whichever way that could be.
Yeah, the complementary part, that's very intriguing. Where I think about breaking down the silos, it's not across organizations, but even within an organization, where I hope that will bring as well the possibility to tie together all the different and various departments within an organization. But by having those insights not being competitive, but like you say, complementary, that's the big gain where we will get with the models, with data, and bringing that all together into one platform then.
And I think that there's also not any other options. I talk a lot to customers. We can very quickly sense if there's difference in view between different departments. The website team and the email team. In the end, we have to accept that the customer does not really make a difference. We are the one brand, and if he doesn't get the one brand experience, it's bad for everyone. Because in the end, at some point, we're all going to be measured in some way on the bottom line. And if it breaks off early in the process of communication, that's bad. But it also is really bad if it breaks off in the last step. So there's no better or worse. I think we just have to accept that the customers are making the call. They're removing their consent, because anywhere in the process we have not respected, be that frequency of email, or be that how pushy we're doing a retargeting from the website. It can be so many things. We need to be really connected all through the organization to make sure that the core principles of respect, of privacy are in place, and we can adhere to those. Otherwise, a customer will call us out.
Yeah, so we will experience less spammy type of campaigns all the time, because they're better aligned, if I'm following what you're saying.
From a technology perspective, 100%, we can absolutely, tune that to the level that you as an organization want. Again, organizations have to change their view from how much do I want to push? There's still brands that I sign up for, and after I sign up, I get a daily email every day, and I'm like, this is not the relationship I agreed to. I'm interested in your brand, but I'm not that interested in your brand. So it's really about, again, we come back to ethics. It's how do I want to be treated, and how much are you listening to how I want to be treated? And if you create a consent banner and I say, call me for this, call me for that, if you don't want me to go to a level, only contact me twice a year on that, which will, eventually be a possibility technically to do, then just make it reasonable. And we all, there's the best practice, don't send an email more frequently than every 7 days, whatnot. It's all there. It's really about how is it applied from an organizational perspective, and how can we hold back on our personal individual goals of, I need to make KPI, X, Y, Z of, another campaign send out, whatnot, happen today, or can I actually wait for next week and maybe it's going to be more successful.
Yeah, exactly. It's really treating you on a personalized way, how you want to be treated. I think that's a big mind shift for a lot of organizations. If I see how you run campaigns, the tools don't allow you to do that on that level where you say one person only wants to have the newsletter once a day, the other one once a month type of thing, and then creating that value. And that's still a hard thing to get that right for the time being with the current existing tools. As such, I think we need to talk a bit more about the capabilities of the Adobe platform as well. But very intriguing discussion. So Axel, data connects us all, but music connects us all as well. What is your favorite type of music or favorite band?
I'm very open, with my job, with my personal life as well. I'm very open to learn more, to see new things. So my music taste is very diverse as well. I used to be very into one area of music when I was younger, but I'm very open actually. As long as I can, and that might sound funny, but as long as I can immerse myself, as long as I can feel the music, I can get into a lot of different styles. I've had very unexpected, evenings at concerts where I didn't even know the band, and I went into it and I was very intrigued. I recently listened to a German band called Meute, which is a brass orchestra that play techno music. So if you want to check it out, very, very different, very cool stuff. So very, very unusual combination. And they're doing world tours. I think they were in the Netherlands just a few days ago. So they're doing shows all over the place. So that's one area. And then there's an experimental group called the Glitch Mob, which is very much electronic music, but they like to experiment with different sounds on stage a lot. So that's also something very random. Some people want to say maybe, but it's very, very intriguing because you can sense how you can really get into a lot of new spectrums of music. And yeah, get the experience out of it. For me, that's really, and I think that's maybe not that I thought about this before, but maybe that's what a lot of consumers or a lot of people, when they deal with organizations, expect. They're not having a specific, but they just want to be caught in the emotion. They want to be caught in the experience. That's where creative and data come together again. Find the people that are open for certain things, and just give it to them, and they're all happy. They don't expect more. They won't ask for more. They'll just be immersed.
Yeah, I think immerse is a very nice word, like you say. I mean, I have a background being a DJ, and then getting into the crowd and feeling that energy. And that's the same way if you're trying to sell to somebody. Sell is always such a negative word in a way, but it's about connecting. It's about feeling the energy and being immersed, and then being connected to the brand, if you can call it like that. So I think that's a nice wrap up for our very intriguing chat we had. Axel, thanks very much for being on the show. Thanks for your time, and thanks for the nice chat we had.
Excellent. Thank you, Yves. Cheers.